What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Crew 2, and in this video I'm going to take a look at the Mazda Cosmo Sport. It's definitely going to look a lot different than the lovely Mazda RX-7. It really is insane how far cars have actually come with their overall designs, like similar to the Countach. I do know a lot of these cars are basically like timeless pieces, but nonetheless, guys, the Mazda Cosmo Sport is going to be a pretty odd car. I do think like stock it was like 60 horsepower, but luckily, being maxed out, it hits like 330, which is still going to be insanely low. So I can't wait to see how this car does accelerate. And of course, it does have some great customization to it. So you also get a turbo here with an intercooler on the front that almost looks like buck teeth from SpongeBob. So not really sure how I'm actually feeling about this, but knowing me, I'm most likely going to have the turbo front end on this, even though the intercooler is kind of insane. But let's see if we can get a front end. There we go. This car also reminds me of the Fair Lady, which I would say is going to probably be maybe related. Honestly, I don't really know. But moving over to the next bumpers though, so we do have this one. I kind of like the black colored piece down there. That looks cool. Let's go with this one. Moving over to the rims. So for this, guys, when you do buy this car, there is going to be a few different options. I do believe there's going to be 5 or so total. So here's this one. Then we have that one. Then we have that one, obviously the non-painted color of this one. And then moving over to this, that's actually pretty dope. And then the one I'm currently running is going to be like the mix with the black in the back of it. I feel like it's going to be a nice overall option. But moving over to the calipers, which unfortunately running these rims you obviously cannot see. So I guess I'll go red on there. Moving over to the side mirrors, so the original ones are going to be on the front. I would love to drive a car with them being on the front to see how that actually does look, but you also do get the ones on the side of the car here. Then we have those. Oh, those are actually really cool. And then we're going to have these, which I do believe actually paint the whole side of the car as well. Look at that. That's actually kind of dope. Then we have those. So for me, guys, let's go with these right here. Then moving over to the rear fenders now. Oh, you get blacked out on that too? See, we actually have a chrome delete on a car from the 60s. I would love to see this on some of the other vehicles and or like the customization for vehicles. I mean, come on, we actually have the blacked out version of this, and what in the, okay, that looks so weird. Like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. It almost looks like they just threw it on there, which obviously is what a body kit is. But moving over to the next part, we have the black fenders. Then moving over to the rear wings, this will probably be interesting. Kind of cool. See, it's not as bad as I thought. I thought they were going to be like huge. Okay. Well, I spoke way too soon. Yeah, downforce on a car with this kind of power. No, I don't think that's actually useful. Let's go with this little black wing here. Then rear bumpers now. This will be interesting. Got a huge exhaust on that piece. Blacked out. That goes to the ground. That goes up. Not really ricer. It's actually not bad looking. And then for the next two exhausts, though, they're going to be vertical. To be honest, I'm kind of mixed on how those look, but for me, though, I will have to go with this really big exhaust on the back like an RX-7. And then finally, moving over to the interior, let's go with blue, because I figured the car is white, so maybe I can mix this up a bit. And you can actually make the entire interior carbon fiber. I'm not sure. Let's go with the wooden feeling because obviously this car is older. Overall, though, guys, I would say this Mazda is actually pretty awesome. I really can't wait to see what this thing can actually do. I know it's probably not going to be the fastest thing out there, but let's go do an outside look of this car right now and also take this thing on a quick top speed test. So moving over to the outside view of the Cosmo Sport, I actually decided to go outside by Miami. I figured the highway over here is going to be great, even though there's random cows everywhere. I really do not know why they're always by this highway. Like, imagine doing like 80 and a cow runs out in front of you. That would honestly be devastating, as he is currently doing right now. But you guys will also notice how the turbo on this car is indeed spinning. I really do love those little pieces of detail in these cars, but one thing I also could not get past, I for some odd reason really do like this car. Now, when doing some research on this car, though, guys, I found apparently this thing actually has a two-rotor engine in it, and apparently it has like a 982cc displacement, which I would find that to be an insanely small engine, but overall though I do find the look of this car to be pretty awesome, and I would say that small engine's most likely not going to matter, especially on the Crew 2. And one thing I also noticed right off the bat with this Mazda is you can definitely tell this car has a rotary. So moving over to the interior view of this Cosmo, I actually really like the way this car does look. For example, guys, that wooden steering wheel with like the background being wooden also does look pretty awesome. I would probably say being on the right side and or like a right-hand drive car is probably weird for me. I've also never driven a car like this, so hopefully one day I will. But I would say it's definitely going to feel a tad different, even though it's basically the same as the left side. It's just going to be flipped over. Also, is the e-brake on down there? I can't really tell. But we also have the back seats, which I did make blue, so they do look pretty nice with the blue and white stitching. I really do like how that actually does look. I think those are also vents. I'm not 100% sure on that, but overall though, guys, I really do think a lot of players are going to like this car because it really is a classic and it does look insanely unique. But besides all that though, guys, let's go see what the top speed of this Mazda Cosmo Sport actually is. So I would probably say this car is obviously going to be a 4-speed, which back in the day, 4 speeds were insanely common. I do know like a lot of those old Challengers and or Chargers also had 4 speeds. And nowadays we have like 10-speed transmissions, so times are definitely changing pretty dang fast. But let's see what this Cosmo Sport can get to. Now, I would say it's probably going to be random, but I would probably predict this car to hit like 250, and I am, I guess, right. 251 miles an hour. I do find it kind of interesting how some of these vehicles are like random. For example, guys, we have some crazy sports cars hitting like 240. Then we have cars like this Mazda and or the Chevrolet 3100 cracking around 250 miles an hour as a top speed, which I would say is going to be insanely random because most players are probably not going to be racing this, although I may have to test out cars like this in summits, but I really don't feel like a lot of people are going to use cars like this because there is going to be better options that also most likely handle better. So I did actually complete one race in the Cosmo Sport, and I have to admit something. This might be one of the funnest 4-speed vehicles I've ever driven on this game, and the main reason why I say that though, guys, the fact that I normally do run manual, and I do think a lot of people are going to agree, shifting through these gears is sometimes not the funnest thing out there to do, and trying to find the right gear going around corners can also be a challenge, which I would probably say is going to be the same thing with this Cosmo Sport. I was being in the wrong gear around certain corners, but I was still having a blast with this car, and this thing actually handles insanely well, which I was very surprised about. For example, guys, I do think the Cosmo Sport handles a lot better than that 429 Lime Edition. That is going to be in the Motor Pass as well, so that's kind of hilarious. You would also never expect a car like this to most likely beat that one. Now, one thing I also really loved about this car is the fact that this thing really does sound insane. I really do think that two-rotor engine actually sounds incredible, and I really cannot wait to play Motorfest because the sounds on that game, guys, are going to be slightly better. I honestly am super hyped up for Motorfest though, guys, because I really do feel like it's going to be one of the best racing games we've had in a while, and the Crew 2 really has been absolutely amazing the past 3 years, so I actually got into this game kind of late. I got into this game around like 2021 or around like late 2020, so I was very late on this game though, which I would say is going to be unfortunate because I did miss like the other 2 years of it. But my goodness, I'm so happy to see these cars being added and new stuff still being added to this day. I really do feel like games like Need for Speed can definitely take a big hint from this, but overall though, guys, I would say this is probably going to be one of those cars that most players are probably not going to want to buy. I do feel like a lot of people are most likely saving up for other street cars that they can transfer and or different street cars that they actually do want, like over the Cosmo Sport. To be honest though, I would definitely farm up around 200k and or buy this car. I actually find this Mazda to be insanely fun to use. It also has some pretty interesting customization which does help, and at least you can also move this car over to Motorfest in Season 2, and I really do feel like being able to move your cars over is probably one of the greatest things ever. but I would like to know your thoughts on the Cosmo Sport in the comments below, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more insight.